You are golden, you are good enough, like your fire from within. You're inspired, you inspire us, it's gonna be all good again.
I'm Brianna, your host for the Roar Indie Author Interview Series. These mini podcasts are brought to you by the Mama Knows Not a podcast, which highlights the joys, tears, and everything in between about parenting, as well as iFrig Publishing, which strives to embody their mission, good for our kids, good for our earth, and good for our communities in each work they publish. This is another interview for the series. Today we have Tracey with us to talk about her book. I'm super stoked to hear your story and what inspired you. So let's get right into it, Tracey. Why did you want to be an author?
I've always been into the creative writing arts from a young age, like 10, 11, 12, myself writing poems, and then it morphed into songwriting at that young age. And so, you know, fast forward a little bit, spending lots of time in Barnes and Noble, lots in the children's section. It morphed into that. For some reason, I was, you know, a 30-year-old constantly hanging out in the children's book section of Barnes and Noble. And I think that's where the seed was being planted for writing for children. I just found it, I was interested in I never had any children myself. So I think that was part of the lure and what's going on with the youth of the world, because I was totally not attached to that, you know, it was in my own Tracey land. And that's where I got an idea of what was really being taught through the book process. Because I like reading and I like collecting. I had a huge collection of hardcover books. For some reason, I'm into this tactile thing. I like the hardcover books.
I get that. Totally.
I love that the feel, the covers, the sometimes the pages are really nice to touch and it's alluring. It's part of the reading and absorbing process. So anyway, I was interested in these children's books and I find myself buying them and reading them. And my husband would be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I think I want to start. I said, "No, really, I'm not going backwards. I think I want to start to write, to do this, you know." So that's kind of how it was born. And then, but I was always a songwriter. There was a long career of songwriting in between all of that. And I had taken a pause from writing the songs because I was managing my husband's career. He was a rest in peace, Larry, was a world-renowned jazz guitarist and his career was huge. So I was really ensconced in all of that, but I wanted to get back to doing something of my own. And it started with writing. Well, I wrote a songbook. I took a children's literature course to get to know about that industry, you know. And when I graduated with that course, of course, I had lots of books, you know, I've written lots of stories. But the one that ended up getting published by iFrig Publishing, Penny, was a songbook, which was apropos since I'm a songwriter. And that was called Tilikum's Dream. And of course, Tilikum's Dream it's not really fiction, although the ending was.
Don't give it away.
No, I won't give it away. But it was a learning. I was more into telling. I love fiction. I love it. But I was, for some reason, geared towards more nonfiction because I wanted to do something more in the vein of learning and awareness. And Tilikum's Dream is really about that. Learning and awareness of marine mammals and their true habitat, you know, in my opinion, where they belong. So
in the ocean.
That's what I did. And I was kind of inspired. Also, I have a lot of nieces and nephews and grandchildren through my husband's side, not biological. And I thought I wanted to kind of connect with them in a way. So I gave the books to them, to try to connect because they were really young at the time. And so that was part of that inspiration. And it also got me back into, it kickstarted the songwriting again. So I've been doing that ever since. And I think that book, I think this was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. 2012, 2013 is when all this children's literature writing started to really explode in my life.
That's so great. So
I might have answered two questions in one.
That's all good. You're on top of it. What age group is your book best suited for?
Starting probably at age 7 to 9, and really probably going up to a little higher into the early teens.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you admire the protagonist in your tale? Like, what makes this character so unique?
Because, well, Tilikum is a 22-foot long orca who had quite a personality, and he has quite a record behind him of his behavioral responses to living in captivity, which is very controversial in the adult world. And I guess me living in Orlando, Florida, and bought my yearly pass for Sea World because I loved to go for walks in those parks because it was gorgeous, the landscaping and everything. I didn't do the rides. I wasn't engaging like that, but it came to my attention, this humongous being living in a swimming pool. And I just, all of a sudden my heartstrings were pulled and I got emotionally involved in that. And so I started to research more about what's going on there. Because it just, for some reason, all of a sudden it looked awkward to me to see that. And so the more that I researched, I found this whole activist, world, which I'm no longer involved in the activism. I think it's a little too extreme for me. But I wanted to get the message across at the time, and I got very involved in it, and it was very stressful because your heartstrings are being pulled all over the place.
Yeah.
But there was a young girl that started an organization called Blue Freedom. And she was a young teenager, maybe 12 or 13, when she started this Blue Freedom, because she was feeling the same way. And I thought, wow, that also played a role in me writing the song, because I hooked up with her and I said, what do you think? And she loved it, So it was everything was kind of coming together. There was a flow, and that's why I continued with it. And I think the energy of that carried through. Tilikum,
Awesome.
He did some things that somebody that was in jail fighting for their lives, not really enjoying their life, would do. That part was not admirable, but you could tell that what was admirable about him is that he always did his best to thrive in what he was given, which was taken out of his natural habitat, put in this pool and trained to be a trick pony, so it was. Yeah.
It's an interesting one, conservation and animal rehabilitation, because it's definitely controversial. Yeah. And there's definitely animals, who are injured or endangered, and you're trying to, keep them alive and maintain longevity. But then there's definitely a fine line between conservation and entrapment, for lack of a better term. And a lot of, excuse me, a lot of animals who were captured to be, treated as, a circus entity, for lack of a better term, that is no longer the process anymore, nor is it allowed to be, for obvious reasons, because of creatures like Tilikum. So I think that's a really important thing to highlight from an educational perspective, is that things have changed and creatures aren't necessarily meant to be in cages, now, if they're sometimes you rehab them, you let them out back to the wild, right? Like the manatees in Florida is a big thing too, right? If they get hit by boats, you rehab them, you send them back. And then sometimes they can't go back because they will be killed or whatever. And so then it might be safer for them to stay in a zoo or an aquarium. But, you know, stealing someone from their natural habitat is not ideal. I like your point there. It's not exactly healthy for the organism.
I totally believe in the sanctuaries and all that too. Totally in the zoos that are helping. Yeah, I'm not like anti.
Yeah, that are helping.
Anything.
Yeah.
It was just bringing the awareness to, and also for the children. Some of them, they didn't realize that these creatures lived out in the wild. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes you're just living in this four walls mindset, and they're so majestic. It's like, I just wanted to get the point across too, subtly, that it's more fascinating to see our beautiful nature creatures in the wild, in their habitat. It's more exciting. It's more inspiring to see them. Like, you can go see orcas off the coast of Iceland or Washington State.
Yep.
Take a trip, you know.
Or
it's fabulous to see them out there rather than in a pool, you know. So.
No, I agree with that. I live on the east coast of Florida in St. Augustine, and there's definitely the days where we're doing a beach walk and all of a sudden you see like the pod of dolphins jumping around, or, you know, the pelicans swooping down to get a fish. And if you're so fortunate, we've rescued a few jellyfish from the beach that have been washed ashore. My son's obsessed with sea creatures, so he's like, we have to save them, you know. Even if some of the jellyfish are dead, we pretend that we have saved the jellyfish and they're back in the ocean. so it's I'm just you know, driving the point home for like my personal experience. Like, I think animals are incredible, and orcas especially. Those are brilliant creatures. Absolutely. So what does it mean for you to have your book as part of this Roar literacy initiative and the Golden Ticket to Literacy? What does it mean to you?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm like giddy to be part of that. And it's such a progressive idea too, you know, the vending machines. The whole thing is just, I'm glad to be on board with that train, you know. It's just a new way to keep kids interested in books, you know. I'm all for that. I don't like to lose traditional methods of inspiring and absorbing information.
No, I like that. And I like how you said, like, sometimes you just have to be like tactile with things. I'm very similar. Like, I need to, it's hard on your eyes too. Maybe I'm just getting old, but like, I'm like, where's I can't anymore. Like, give me a piece of paper to read. I can't do this.
I have some, you know, nieces and nephews and stuff like that. And I hear, you know, they're always in the phone because it's the common thing to do nowadays. Yeah. And their eyes are burning too at the end of the day. It's not an age thing. It's, you know, it's tiny to look at that. Or the lighting. I think it's the light. I'm not sure. There's facts about what's going on, what it's doing to your eyes. But it's
great
nice
to see those.
To just read and write. It's nice at the pen. Yes. I love pens. Paper. I'm all into the unique styles of paper. That, you know, I think there's a bigger appreciation for it now. Like how albums came back, vinyl. It's kind of like
I was just saying that. Yeah. No, I feel like this is a great question to ask you, especially with all your songwriting background as well. What is one piece of advice or insight that you can share or give to aspiring writers?
To create from your personal sense of truth and honesty.
That's a good one.
If you come from a place of honesty, even if you're writing fiction, but if you're coming from your own sense of honesty, that energy is gonna, you know, be picked up by the reader. It's, you know, that's what I feel.
I love that.
That's what I would say.
I love that. So where can students and educators find out more about you and your work, whether it be books or songwriting?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have my website. It's traceyland.com, my TRACEYLAND.com. Or at Facebook, I'm Tracey Coryell. Tilikum's Dream also has a Facebook page onto itself. So,
okay.
So that's there. And that involves a lot of people that go to that page. There's a lot of activism type of stuff going on, because that book attracts that a lot. So there's a lot of that going on there, interaction. But mostly my Facebook page gets a lot of action from me, and I keep my website updated on a monthly basis for new things. Yeah, because I'm working on a new children's book, songbook.
So there's something to look forward to. Something to look forward to in 2023.
2023, yep. It's about chakras, energy, subtle energy bodies. For the, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Give us a little teaser too, Tracey. That's awesome.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, right. I'm excited for that book. That'd be pretty cool. I could learn probably something from it.
I get a lot of this. I mean, really, a lot of the things that we're writing for the children is useful for the adults. We're just putting it in a way that children could absorb it, hopefully, So, but
no, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm always getting excited about who my illustrator is going to be because I'm all visual,
Yeah,
I
can't draw
this artwork
but
for the chakras. But.
I'm like, I can see this in my head. Can you make it happen? Because I got is stick figures for you.
Yeah,
it's as good as they're gonna get from me. So we look forward to seeing more from you, Tracey. Obviously, and then until next time, I hope everybody has some fun reading and learning.